What I want to talk to you about today is something that some of you might be familiar with, others not so much, and it's called the global travel retail world. And this is a picture from Changi Airport we heard very briefly about from MasterCard today. And the travel retail world, in essence, is the business of selling retail to travelers, as the word kind of tells you. But very quickly about AOE, I started the company almost 20 years ago now in '99. I was 14 years old and I was kind of bored in school. So I started doing web development and then went very quickly into e-commerce. And we, over the years, we grew into one of the largest e-commerce implementation companies in Europe. And in the last few years, 3 to 4 years, we found a very interesting niche, and that is that so-called travel retail market. As part of doing this whole digital transformation of the airport, we also launched a loyalty program, because in the end, that is one of the main possibilities to really create a consistent relationship with the passenger and communicate them throughout their future journeys as well. As you might know, in Europe, there's a very, very strict new data regulation, GDPR. Unfortunately, the Germans are to blame for it, so I'm sorry for that. We came up with it originally. But it basically means that you can't easily share data with other companies, and what Alibaba is doing would be completely illegal anywhere in Europe. Whenever it's two different companies, you can't just exchange data with each other. So what the airport actually did was they created a joint venture together with their main retailer, their main concessionaire, which is Heinemann. And through the loyalty program and giving explicit consent when you're signing up for that loyalty program, that made them able to actually communicate to the passengers throughout the relationship of their journey through the airport as a continuous passenger. The results we've seen are that the average spend of a passenger at Frankfurt Airport is only 4 euros roughly, which is really sad. It's a tiny amount. It's basically less than a Starbucks coffee. And But members of the loyalty program are now spending 90 euros additionally to that average spend per passenger. We have a repurchase rate of 30% within the loyalty program of passengers purchasing on a continuous basis. The average basket value increase we've seen so far is 230% versus what the average basket value is in retail. At Heathrow, we're only live for 1 month now. We have already seen a quadrupling of the basket value in relation to retail, because one of the main reasons is that Heathrow has decided to put their focus primarily on luxury goods. So it's actually one of the few stores in the world where you can buy 40,000 euro or pound watches, where you can buy Louis Vuitton handbags, etc., etc. So very few stores, of course, have the permission to even do that around the world. And one of the things that I find also very interesting is the 35% average cross and upsell potential, whereas the other slide that you saw about retail at airports, the upsell potential is only between 3 and 7% in retail once people buy from one category to then also buy in a different category. And what this web rooming effect has translated into at Frankfurt Airport is that for every 100,000 unique visitors that come to the e-commerce platform, some of them purchase, some of them don't, we also see an increase in retail spend of between 500,000 and 750,000 euros per these 100,000 visitors. And as you can imagine, an airport gets free traffic quite a bit. So an airport website like Heathrow.com, for example, will get 50 million unique visitors per year for free. So it's really just a question of converting them into e-commerce customers, whereas other e-commerce players have to spend billions on marketing and advertising to get people on their platforms. Now my clicker has stopped working too. I think the laptop is frozen. Okay, no, something's not working with the clicker. Oh, now it's working again. Okay, thanks. So really what we're trying to achieve is for these airports to create, on the one hand, a consistent passenger experience, and on the other hand, increase the non-aviation revenues that they can provide, that they can generate throughout the journey, so that they actually become self-sufficient entities. And for those of you that know a little bit about airports in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East work completely differently from airports in the US. In the US, airports are considered train stations with airplanes in them. They are funded by the government or by the local government of that city. The CEO of the airport is virtually the mayor, so it's a very political game. And any profits that an airport makes in the US, actually it gives back to a large portion to the airlines to decrease their landing fees. So airports in the US don't have any really substantial interest in growing revenues, whereas all the airports in the rest of the world are all privatized, and they have, most of them are public and they private, and they have to generate revenues and increase shareholder value, obviously. So, just a couple of thoughts. Because probably many of you will ask, why would you do e-commerce at an airport? The rents are horrendous. You only have a limited possibility for fulfillment. Why would you do it at an airport rather than just doing it from the warehouse? Of course, one of the main reasons why you do it at the airport is because you can do it duty-free and tax-free, which is something you can only do at an airport or at an airline. But there are actually 3 substantial reasons that we have found that support the thesis. Number 1 is, we are currently the only company in the world that can do 30-minute deliveries of more than 100,000 products to a passenger. This is something that, of course, is very compelling when you're looking at the last-minute possibilities that entails. A lot of us are very impatient, and same-day delivery is not enough anymore, and 4-hour delivery is not enough anymore, so we always want it immediately or not at all. The other aspect, of course, is the 2 highest costs of doing e-commerce or pure e-commerce play that you can see in any financial statement of Amazon or other companies. The 2 most expensive ones are returns and shipping costs, and the second one is cost of traffic acquisition or marketing, so to say. Both of these are extremely low for an airport because they don't have any costs of returns. People still have to go to the airport to pick it up there. Of course, there is possibility to do a home delivery technically, but then it's no longer duty-free. So the returns that we're seeing are in the very low single-digit numbers, whereas someone like Amazon has more than 30% return rates. In the fashion industry, it's sometimes 60% return rates. And of course, as I mentioned before, the cost of traffic is very low when you are in an airport, because people are logging onto your Wi-Fi, that's free traffic. People are going to your website to check the flight information, that's free traffic. People are using your app, that's free traffic. So, as I mentioned before, we are starting to roll this out at more and more airports around the world, and the changes in shopping behavior that we're seeing there are quite interesting. Now, as you are all retailers, you might know that the best-selling item in travel retail in the world is Chanel No. 5. Now, I would like to ask you what you think is the best-selling item in digital travel retail. And I give you a hint, it's not Chanel No. 5. In fact, none of the typical duty-free products are very high selling in digital travel retail, and I think the reason for that is quite easy. The reason is that people are not concerned that these products will not be available when they get to the airport. Yeah, because these commodity goods that the airports always have plenty of stock available because they can't afford to run out of stock is not something that you desperately want to reserve and prepay before you're traveling. So what we're seeing is that we are actually going way up the ladder in terms of what the best sold products are. For example, in Frankfurt, the best sold product in February this year, 2 months ago, was an 8,000 euro Leica camera. We sold 5 of them within 1 month. In Singapore, where we are working with Singapore Airlines, we are actually selling more wine fridges on the planes than wine. Yeah, so it's a very strange situation. You're sitting on a plane, you're bored, you're looking at a catalog, and you see a wine fridge, and you're like, wow, I want to have this wine fridge now. You don't have to fulfill it on the plane, but you've created that meaningful relationship with the customer in that period of being susceptible. Heathrow, the top-selling item is actually a £35,000 Jaeger LeCoultre watch. Because you cannot buy it in a lot of places, and it's not that easy to make sure, you cannot be sure that they always have it in stock in every terminal. And of course the primary buyers are Russians, Vietnamese, and Chinese, and they want to make sure when they come to that airport that they have that damn watch in stock and are not disappointed. And one thing that we're doing in Auckland, New Zealand, which is very, very exciting, is something that we're calling the collection point. And it's actually a partnership that the airport has done with more than 300 retailers downtown. And what that entails is that you can go to any of these retailers in downtown Auckland, New Zealand, buy the product there, whether it's a watch or whether it's jewelry or a handbag. You only pay the tax-free price. The airport then collects it from that retailer with a courier, delivers it to the airport, gets it through customs, through security check, to the collection points, and the passenger then picks it up as they leave the country. The airport takes an 8% commission on that. The retailer can give a discount because they're selling tax-free to that passenger. And that entire scheme, for a very small airport in Auckland with only 18 million passengers, is driving more than 100 million in sales already in the first year. So those are other opportunities where it really just takes out-of-the-box thinking how you can really take omni-channel to the next level.